10 minutes past the top of the hour. Up next, we're helping you hit the road organized.
How you can keep your family buttoned up on your road trip. Geez, before you know it, school will be out and the whole family will be hitting the road for vacation. Sarah Welch from Buttoned Up shows us how to get that car organized for the long trip, and boy, do I ever need this.
Yeah, it is one thing that can be an absolute headache if you're not prepared.
Yes.
But fun if you are. Just
All right.
A little bit of preparation
Take us
will go
through
a long
it.
way. First things first, you got to know where you're going. It's really easy in this day and age to just go onto MapQuest or Google Maps. If you have navigation systems in your car, you can make sure you're never lost. A fun thing for kids is make them co-pilot. Print out the directions and hand it to them, and they will be a little less likely to ask, how much farther?
When are we going to get there?
Another thing, if you're spending a lot of time in your car, the roads are congested and accidents do happen. They estimate about 6 million accidents happen a year.
Wow.
So it's better to be on the safe side and be prepared. We make something called a collision kit, but the idea is to be prepared. This comes with a flash camera so that you can take pictures if you are in an accident, and forms that are ready to fill out, information that you give to the other person, information they give to you. Another thing is make sure your tires are full, a major cause of accidents.
Very important.
So get the basic safety buttoned up.
Oh, and a first aid kit.
A first aid kit with all the essential supplies. Yeah. Now for the fun and for the back seat and taking care of the kids. First, make sure that you've got snacks and wipes and trash bags. Just generally things to keep them full and not asking to stop every 5 minutes. The DVDs and games are making a lot of headway in the back seats, and I know make kids very, very happy on road trips. So if you're into that, these are really easy and fairly inexpensive. But there's a lot to be said for old-fashioned games.
I agree,
You don't necessarily have to go high-tech to keep the kids entertained. You can sneak in a little bit of learning in terms of talking about distance and time, how long it would take if you walked, how long it would take if you flew.
Oh, cool.
You can also have the kids prepare a report about where they're going and talk about some of the interesting things along the way. And there's always the ABC game, which is a favorite, and the license plate game. And then just to make sure, have a fleece or a blanket in the back and lots of water.
And I like this book. Rand McNally makes the book Things to Do on the Go.
Yes.
Which is really cool too.
Yeah, kids like to be co-pilot.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
We're going to check back in with her at about 7:45. We're going to talk about traveling by plane. Don't forget, you can get all these ideas anytime on Get Buttoned Up's website. You can find a link on our website, myfoxwghp.com. Just click on the Morning News tab.
It is time to get organized. Earlier, we were talking about a road trip. Now, Sarah Welch with Buttoned Up makes our flight go a little smoother. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And it's tough times flying these days,
It's tough
isn't
times.
it?
I think the FAA thinks it's going to be as bad or worse this summer than it was last summer, and that's weather related, but it's also overbooking related, and there are lots of mergers going on in the airline industry. So it's going to be a bumpy ride.
But you got ways to iron out some of the kinks,
Ways to iron out. All it takes is a little bit of organization up front.
Okay, where do we start?
Number one, you got to get there a little bit earlier these days. If you're one of those that likes to arrive just in time,
ding, 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 ding. There you go.
Yep, because you're going to want to. You're going to have to brave longer security lines, and then once you're on the other side, you'll need a little extra time to get water, magazines, because you may be on the tarmac for a little longer than you expect.
Be early.
Be early.
Number one. Okay.
Number one. Number two is pack a carry-on and stock that carry-on with things that you are likely to need if you're stuck on an airline tarmac for 3 hours, like battery chargers.
No, because your cell phone always dies, and these portables are good for that.
Yep.
The magazines, yeah.
water.
I borrowed magazines from other people on a plane because I
it gets
read
bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And then, you know, a shawl or a sweater that you can use as a pillow.
Even in summer, because sometimes the air conditioning
blasting.
That's a good idea for that.
So another good idea is to fly with status. Every airline has a rewards program of some sort or of another. And if you are flying an airline where you don't have status, you don't have miles, sign up on the spot for an account, because often it comes down, seat assignments and whether you make the flight or not,
like
comes down to not necessarily an upgrade, but just are you going to get on the flight or not. Comes down to whether or not you have a frequent flyer number.
Cool.
Next is be better prepared than everybody else. Assume
smarter than the other guy. I like that. I like your way of thinking.
Assume that the worst is going to happen. That either your flight's so delayed that you miss your connection or your flight's canceled altogether. Make sure you've got a list of hotels and rental cars and your numbers with you just in case you need them.
You don't have to be a Boy Scout to be prepared, right?
No, sadly. If your flight is canceled, have a sense for what other flights around the same time to the same destination.
Nowhere to turn for an option.
Nowhere to turn for an option.
Okay. Snacks? You brought snacks?
I brought snacks. Kids, if you're traveling with kids, a really good rule of thumb is that double time rule that we talked about earlier, which is if you've got a flight and you know how long you're going to be on that flight, double it, because you're likely to be stuck on the tarmac, there are going to be delays.
3 hours can turn into 6 hours very easily.
Pretty easily.
Right.
So make sure you're stocked up on fun things for the kids, not just snacks and maybe a little
Red Bull for the
yourself.
Kids?
For yourself.
For the kid? You put that in a bottle?
I think
Johnny,
you might need
you're going to love it, really. You'll be up to midnight with that one. But anyway, the snacks are, and so much cheaper than you're going to pay if you have to buy them in the terminal.
Exactly. And then for kids, it's a really good idea to have some low-tech fun things to do. Things like Play-Doh, crayons, and coloring books that can keep them entertained for long periods of time. If you've got a DVD tape player, after a certain point, the batteries are going to die. So.
And if you run out of magazines, you can do the coloring books too.
Yes,
Thanks very much. Tell you what, wedding season's upon us. 8:15, she's going to show us how to make the walk down the aisle one of the easiest walks you'll ever do. Until then, don't forget to check out the Buttoned Up website. You'll find a link at our website, myfoxwghp.com. Click on the Morning News tab.